Salam and peace, everyone. Thank you for watching My Voices Race Against Racism. I'm your co host, Mariam Khan, here with.
Welcome. My name is Maria Mendes, and in light of the devastating and alarming news spiraling into the worst kind of hate in America, we are interviewing guests who can shed light into current events.
Today we have our guest, Nathan Omiunu, who is a high school student here in New Jersey to discuss police brutality. Hi, Nathan. How are you?
I'm good. How are you? I am very grateful that you guys invited me to speak in this conversation. I am very passionate about this topic, and yeah, thank you for having me today.
So we're glad you could join us. So, what do you think police brutality is?
I think police brutality is basically when a police officer uses excessive force um, against someone, whereas it violates that civilians' rights, specific rights. Um, and recently, obviously, with events, we can see that it's been used mostly with people of color, especially Black people. Yeah.
Yeah, so for me, I think police brutality is like you were saying, it is a force that is used against civilians, but not just any civilians. It is used against Black people and other minorities, but the majority of the people who are influenced by this are Black people.
What do you guys think about? Because I know there's a common argument that people say, which is like some people just have bad experiences with the cop, or maybe they were resisting, or maybe they were doing something wrong. What do you think about that as an issue of people who think that police brutality is not as big of an issue and it shouldn't be made an issue?
I feel like they're only in a position of to. Sometimes I'm seeing a lot of people are saying that because they're in a position of white privilege, or just because they haven't experienced being with a police officer, or like having that just experience of the police officer using excessive force. It has to deal with sometimes it has to deal with where the person lives. Sometimes in areas where it's peaceful, police officers in those areas don't really have like a trend of using excessive force.
Mm-hmm. And
Yeah.
I think,
Uh,
Mariam, you were pointing out how there's a difference between the way police treat other minorities versus Black people. Do you think there is a huge difference in police brutality where it specifically targets people of the Black community?
Yes, I'm 100% sure that it is targeting these people because as soon as they see a Black person, they automatically think this person is a threat. This person has an intention of harming someone, and they go to them and they want to restrain them, even though majority of the time they weren't doing anything and they were just living their lives.
Compared to a white person, whereas when a police officer sees them, they treat them as one of their own, and they you would never see, almost never see a police officer. You would never hear a police officer kill a white man because he did nothing, or he was just walking somewhere you know without looking as a threat. That's what you would see. But like when it comes to Black people versus other races, there's a clear difference in them. And
Yeah. Even when white people are armed or doing something, they still treat them like human beings and with respect.
Yeah.
yeah, that's what I that's the thing that frustrates me, is that even the young ones, all these Black people that are just dying, um some of them didn't do anything. Some of them didn't resist the rest. Some of them were really just respectful. But compared to if a white boy takes a gun and goes to school and shoots down the whole school, you wouldn't hear, oh, the police officer for self-defense shot the white boy and killed him. No, the white boy was contained, and they put him in handcuffs peacefully, and he was arrested. You wouldn't see, compare, if a Black boy or a Black girl even dared to hold a weapon go near a school, the police officer in an instant would just shoot them.
Yeah.
So how do you guys, like, what do you guys think about, because I think I've seen a lot of these pictures on social media like that are circling of like a white officer, and then a white person who has just either killed people, like done something extreme, and the police officer is literally like giving them water and treating them with so much respect. How do you guys feel when you see pictures like that?
disgusts me because I was actually just I was thinking about this earlier because I remember my sister was telling me that there was a white man that shut down a church, but then they told him calm down, and then they took him and they gave him water, and later when he said he was hungry when they were going to the police station, they gave him pizza, from what I've heard, and it's just ridiculous. I'm just like, if you're gonna treat him that, or if you're gonna treat them that way, why can't we be treated the same way? It doesn't, like, why are we such a threat? Why is it that when you see us on the streets you think that, oh my god, this person, we need to just contain him, shoot him? Why? That's my question. I don't understand.
Yeah, lots of people come to America seeking equality and seeking help, and when the people who live in America are being harmed just for doing normal everyday things, how are other people supposed to feel too?
Mhm.
And I feel like they don't take that into account. They just think, oh, whatever, that person must be a threat because of their skin color.
And I think that's everyone can relate to that because everyone grew up. I feel like almost everyone grew up with the mindset that, oh, America is so great, oh, it's so diverse. But when you grow up to a certain age, like us, you learn that I learned that America was actually the 98th most diverse country. And I was just like, wait, I grew up thinking, oh my God, this was like one of the most diverse country, or most peaceful, or the most free. I was just like, I'm seeing other countries that this doesn't happen. The gun violence, especially, this doesn't happen as often as it does in America. And then just like, it's such a huge realization. It's just like, it's like I was brainwashed as a kid. We were
Yeah.
all taught that, but at a certain, like I said, at a certain age, you start to realize things for yourself and do research, and you see things that and you see reality, um, instead of like just an image that you were forced to see.
Yeah. What do you guys think is like the root cause of police brutality? Because I heard Nathan bring up white privilege, and I think that is a big part of it. But what do you think really? I mean, I know there's like definitely a mindset that has been ingrained, like Nathan was saying earlier, from before, that it's always been this way. But what do you think is one of the main causes that this issue really stems from?
I think one of the main causes, or one of the reasons that it's still happening, is because we don't have enough people with influence and power trying to make a change. And we have people who want to do things like normal everyday civilians, but they're scared, and rightfully so. But if they have enough people who want to make a change and who are putting an effort, then things can happen. But they just need to have people who are willing to sacrifice to come to a better world.
And yes, I that's something that I really do agree with, because I think that in this case that no matter, at a certain point, no matter how young you are, you could still do something, post on something on social media, make sure educate others, or just donate, sign a petition. If you don't have money, sign a petition. I think that it's just everyone can contribute to something during these times, and I think silence is one of the most things that are is harmful, and it's like the worst thing you want to do. Like being staying silent, is just, it's horrible. It's, you shouldn't
So you
say.
mentioned social media. I wanted to know because this seems to be like a controversial subject ever since, because I think the whole movement now that everyone seems really riled up about Black Lives Matter. I think that kind of stemmed from what happened with George Floyd, and that was obviously an incident of police brutality. So what do you guys think about people things that are doing on social media? Where I like today was Blackout Tuesday, and things like the Instagram story chain where you would find 10 people who would not break the chain of Black Lives Matter. What are your guys' opinions on things like that?
I I love that. I love seeing that there are other people that are just trying to do something to just support this cause. But it's just it just hurts me that why all of a sudden now, like, what happened with George Floyd was horrible, and I hope those police officers get, they get what they deserve. And but it's just, why is it this has happened? People don't realize, they don't take to realize that this has happened before, and all these cameras and people recording, not just because the person was lucky that they were getting recorded. these things happen without people taking their phones and recording things, and it's just like, why all of a sudden now? This has been happening for years and years and years. There are probably things like people doing things to other blacks that we probably haven't heard of. Like, personally, I've heard of the situation. I was discussing this with Miriam before. Um, the situation where that mother, she was pregnant and she had her baby stomped on, and that crushed me by, because it was a police officer that took her out and willingly stomped on her baby. And I said, if first off, if there's ever a video, I would not want. I can't watch it. What? Because first off, watching George Floyd's death, being murdered on that scene, that was just traumatizing to watch. But I just don't understand. But I don't understand why now. But you know what? It's a start, and you know what? And I think that if we just continue, and that's the thing that all these things on social media, it's good, but I feel like some people are just doing it because of a trend. But the minute that this, like, those police officers might get justice, and they, maybe they get a life sentence, people will just go back to normal, and then this will happen again. Like, it's just like, no, this needs to be constant. We need to, like, everyone's just like, oh, all lives matter. No, all, like, when you say all lives matter, it's just saying that if all lives matter, why are these people dying? Why are these people dying just like crazy? It's the only reason why all lives matter exists is because the minute that someone said Black Lives Matter, someone wanted to protest against that and say, no, all lives matter. It's always something. And that's just my opinion.
Oh, thank you.
No, thank you for expressing that. Miriam, what do you think?
Yeah, so I think social media is a good platform, and it's great that people are spreading awareness, because some people, they do need to know more. They need to be exposed to these type of things, but I think people need to do more. And I'm glad that people are signing petitions and they're emailing their congressmen and they're calling them, because that is really important. They need to know that they're being pressured into giving these police officers the punishment they deserve because they murdered a man. And I think that with the awareness, and slowly with more people joining and more people understanding, hopefully influencers and people with a lot of following will also do the same thing, because they can reach out to a lot more people, and doing that can enable change to happen.
Yeah. So what do you guys think are some possible solutions? Because I know, I mean, to ask that question, it's a very loaded question in the sense where if we had a solution, we would have been using it. But what are some active steps that people can take right now? Because I think, like what Mariam was saying, social media is really helpful with spreading news about different things going on. But I think in some ways, like what Nathan was saying, it has been abused in a way where some people are doing it for likes or for follows, or honestly just to look like they aren't racist. So what do you think are some ways that, like, people like us who don't have a huge influence could be helping out?
Well, just starting with like signing petitions, because that does make a change. If enough people do sign petitions, they will have to change how the government is run, how the system works. But also educating people, because some people just really don't know, or they just, no one has taught them, and so they don't know. And people need to be willing to learn too, because if no one's willing to learn, then there's no point in educating, because no one's going to be listening to you, and your words are just going to go unheard.
Yeah, and I think that with social media, and no, not even social media, the way protests are going, that brings up the topic of, is violence the answer, or is peaceful protest the answer? And it's just, sometimes I go both ways, because I say, peaceful protest, because that's how people like MLK, that's the message he wanted to bring out. He said, this, we're trying to do this peacefully and show them that we're not trying to bring violence. We're trying to send out a message. It's just, the question is, how many lives are gonna have to be taken in order to get that message out? And I just think violence, when some people are just burning down buildings, it was amazing to me, because there was this guy, Indian man that owned a restaurant. He took he took Twitter and he posted something. He said that burn my building down because you know why? Buildings can be rebuilt, but lives like George Floyd can't. And it's people are, it just hurts me because people are saying, well, violence is not the answer. I'm okay, but why all of a sudden you people are bringing I'm okay. You never, I'm sure you never even like he was assassinated. If you think that this has been happening for years, I think peaceful protests aren't going to work because you see people are going through peaceful protests and they're still getting shot at with rubber bullets. And I'm just like, is this peace really going to work? I saw something online where the police officers kneeled, and then right after they
Yeah, I
started
saw
shooting
that too.
again. I was just like, I thought we were just I thought we were making progress. I was so happy, and then I saw that. I was just like, what can we do? What is the answer to what's the solution? So I think that I'm not I think that we just right now need to try to just send out a good message to the police officers, but I don't think taking property, destroying it, just throwing rocks at glass, just doing that, I think that's just going to rile the police officers more and just get more people injured. But at the same time, I think when it comes to like buildings, certain buildings, I saw some guys' dentist building get burned down. I was just like, why would you burn down those buildings that help other people, like hospitals? Like, why would you? Those things shouldn't happen. And I just that's my personal opinion. I'm personally not even sure what the solution is, but I think that maybe we just need to all just keep getting more people together and just protesting, but in the most peaceful way possible. Some people said that, you know what, for it's gonna happen for a whole day. Don't buy anything from the stores or
Yeah.
spend
Yeah.
a penny on anything. You know what? My mom said that is a way that it will make a change. It's just, but at the same time, some police officers do things and some people do things. I even hear that there are white supremacists and undercover cops pretending to protest and vandalizing things so they can make the protesters looking bad. So I'm not sure for the solution, but that's just my view. It can go both ways. Like there's an
Yeah.
argument both ways. So
So
um,
going off what you said about the boycotting, I think that that is a really good way to get what you want because this country is run on money. And if we stop all the money that's going in, then the people are going to have to change because if they don't have any money, then what do they have? Because that's
no,
all they
definitely,
really care about nowadays.
definitely, I
Yeah.
totally agree with that. Um, yeah.
No, I agree 100%.
I just also want to mention that it's amazing to me how I see people that are not they're not people of color, or they're just not black, but they're fighting more than ever. Those people are just going crazy and just trying to protest in the most peaceful way as possible. And it's beautiful. I've seen videos. I was literally just discussing this with Miriam before, like hours before, because I was showing her a video that there was this man that was making a good point, and he wasn't doing it in a hateful way. He showed anger, but he wasn't doing it in, like, aggressive way. It's just,
Yeah.
he was saying that if I was a black man and I'm seeing all these people die, and especially with George Floyd, and the police and getting no justice for them, with the police officers still not being contained and not getting justice, what should we do? What should we do? Like, if I was a black man and I saw that, I would lose it. That's what he said. I would, because he I don't we don't know, at some point we don't even know what to do. So that's why some people are resorting to just violence, because it's frustrating. It really is. Um
Yeah. No, I really appreciate you sharing, both of you, your
Yes.
experiences and your thoughts on this. I mean, I'm sure it's definitely traumatizing because just anyone with humanity in them is traumatized by what they see. And I cannot imagine what it must feel like if you look like that person and you see someone that looks like you going through something like that. I don't know what kind of effect that even has, especially on younger children. And the fact that we just have to explain things like that, that this is something that could happen to you, or this is something that happened to someone that looks like you. It's really just devastating. And I think a solution, there might not be a single solution to this that everyone has the same right way to fix this, but I think there definitely are ways that we can make it better.
Yeah.
I found a poem that was published in My Voice a couple years ago, and I would like to read it because I think it's very fitting to what is going on in the world right now. And I think the biggest takeaway from this is, if you don't support the Black community right now, then when it's time for someone else, no one's going to be there to support you. And I think it's so important that even if you're not a part of the Black community, to be there and to be supporting them, because this is not a Black person issue, it's everyone's issue. And if you're not speaking out against it, you are a part of the problem. So I would like to read the poem. Okay. First, they came for the socialists, and I did not speak out because I was not a socialist. Then they came for the trade unionists, and I did not speak out because I was not a trade unionist. Then they came for the Jews, and I did not speak out because I was not a Jew. Then they came for me, and there was no one left to speak for me. I just want everyone to think about that, and how everyone needs to start showing their support and coming towards solutions to these issues, because these things happen and then they die down and then they happen again and then everyone gets riled up again, and it's just a constant cycle. And I think at some point it needs to be broken. And I think right now, the way everyone's eyes have just been opened to what is really going on, and maybe there have been multiple incidents like this, but maybe just the fact that they're being filmed and we can see that this is what happens, I think it's really important that we take this opportunity and really start speaking out against this, because that's the least we can do. Thank you, everyone, for joining us. I'd like to thank Nathan again for being here with us and sharing his experiences. Thanks for tuning in.
Thank you for having
Thank
me.
you.
Bye.